The space station floated in the darkness like a metal flower. It was old. It was hidden. And it was full of secrets. Valorian Station orbited a dying red star, far from the busy trade routes of the galaxy. No one came here by accident. The beings who gathered in its central chamber had traveled for weeks through empty space to reach this place. They did not want to be found. They did not want to be heard. What they planned to discuss was too dangerous for open channels. Kang Taeho walked through the curved hallway with slow, careful steps. His robes flowed around him like gray water. His face was pale, almost white, and his ears came to slight points at the tips. His cheekbones were sharp, and his eyes seemed too large for his face. He looked exactly like a pallid, one of the quietest and most mysterious species in the known galaxy. But Taeho was not a pallid. He was human. The biosynthetic mask he wore had taken 3 years to develop. It changed his face, his body temperature, even the way his heart beat. Every scanner in the galaxy would read him as pallid. Every eye would see what they expected to see. No one would look at this thin, ghostly figure and think of Earth. That was the whole point. Taeho had been undercover for 18 months. He had learned to speak in whispers, the way pallids did. He had learned to eat their strange food without showing disgust. He had learned to be invisible, to be forgotten, to be nothing more than a shadow in the corner of the room. Today, all of that training would be tested. The chamber doors slid open, and Taeho stepped inside. The room was round and vast. A great table made of black stone sat in the center, surrounded by chairs of different sizes and shapes. Some were built for creatures with 4 legs, others were filled with water or gas. One was simply a platform of light, where a being of pure energy could rest. 12 species had sent representatives to this meeting, 12 of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, each one older than human history, each one carrying grudges and fears that stretched back thousands of years. And they all had one thing in common. They all hated humans. Taeho took his seat at the far end of the table, in the shadows where pallids preferred to sit. He said nothing. He barely moved, but his eyes took in everything. At the head of the table sat Ambassador Vraxis of the Cheer X Dominion. Vraxis was tall and insect-like, with a hard shell the color of dried blood. His mandibles clicked together when he spoke, making a sound like bones breaking. He was old, powerful, and he had called this meeting. To his left sat General Kesseth of the Draconar Empire. Kesseth was a reptile, covered in green scales that seemed to shift color with his mood. His eyes were yellow and cold, like a snake watching a mouse. Scars covered his arms and chest, marks of 100 battles. He did not sit so much as crouch, ready to spring at any moment. Across from Kesseth floated Olgor of the Morvathi Collective. Olgor had no solid form. It was a being of living gel, contained in a glass sphere filled with blue liquid. When it spoke, bubbles rose to the surface. There were others, a being made of living metal, a creature that looked like a walking tree, a thing with too many eyes and not enough mouth. Taeho memorized each face, each name, each nervous twitch. And then there was High Seer Oranus. Oranus was not like the others. Where they had bodies of flesh or shell or gel, Oranus was made of light, pure, golden light, contained within a shell of crystal. The light pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. When Oranus looked at someone, they felt it in their mind, a gentle pressure that searched for secrets. Taeho had trained for years to hide from that pressure. He kept his thoughts small and quiet, like a mouse hiding from an owl. The doors sealed shut, the lights dimmed, and Vraxis began to speak. "Thank you all for coming," the ambassador said. His voice was a series of clicks and hisses that Taeho's implant translated into words. "I know the journey was long. I know the risk was great, but what we discussed today is too important for normal channels. Too important for the Galactic Council and their endless debates." Vraxis rose from his seat and pressed a button on the table. A hologram appeared above them, glowing blue in the darkness. It showed a planet, green and blue and white, spinning slowly. "Earth, 70 years ago." Vraxis continued. "This species achieved faster than light travel. 70 years. In that time, they have spread to 47 worlds. They have built fleets. They have formed alliances. They have grown from nothing into a power that threatens to reshape the galaxy. Keseth growled low in his throat. They are vermin, he said. Fast-breeding, short-lived vermin. Perhaps, Vraxis agreed. But vermin with weapons. Vermin with ambition. Vermin who refuse to know their place. Teho felt his jaw tighten beneath his mask. He had heard these words before, in intelligence reports and intercepted messages, but hearing them spoken out loud, in this room full of powerful beings, was different. It made them real. Ulgor's fear bubbled. What do you propose, Ambassador? We have tried trade restrictions. We have tried political pressure. The humans ignore us. They do more than ignore us, said a voice like rustling leaves. It came from the tree creature, whose name was something Teho could not pronounce. They mock us. They call our ancient traditions superstition. They tear apart our sacred artifacts to study how they work. They are dangerous, Vraxis said. And they are only getting stronger. Which is why I have called you here today. Not to discuss. Not to debate. But to act. He pressed another button. The hologram changed, zooming out from Earth to show dozens of other planets. Human colony worlds, each one marked with a red circle. Simultaneous orbital bombardment, Vraxis said. Every human world. Every human ship. Every human outpost. All at once. Before they can respond. Before they can adapt. The word hit Teho like a punch to the chest. Bombardment. They were talking about killing billions of people. His people. His mother lived on New Busan, one of those marked worlds. His sister Yuna was studying medicine on Earth itself. These aliens were planning to murder everyone he had ever loved. Teho's training held. His face remained still. His heartbeat stayed steady. But inside, something cold and hard began to form. Keseth leaned forward, his yellow eyes gleaming. When do we begin? First we vote, Vraxis said. This must be unanimous. Every species represented here must agree. If even one of us refuses, the plan fails. The humans will learn of it. They will prepare, and we will lose our only chance. He looked around the table, his compound eyes reflecting the light of the hologram. So I ask you now, each of you. Are you prepared to end the human threat? Forever? One by one, the aliens raised their appendages. Tentacles, claws, branches, and beams of light rose into the air. Teho counted them. 11 votes in favor. Only Ulgor hesitated, its gel body swirling with what might have been doubt. The motion passes, Vraxis declared. We will plan. We will prepare. And within 1 galactic year, humanity will cease to exist. The room filled with the sounds of alien celebration. Clicks and roars and bubbles and chimes, a symphony of hatred. Teho sat in silence, his pale mask hiding the storm that raged beneath. He had come here to gather information. To listen and learn and report back to Earth. He was supposed to stay hidden. Stay safe. Stay invisible. But as he looked at the hologram of his home world, marked for death by creatures who had never bothered to learn his people's names, Teho knew that the mission had changed. He would not just watch anymore, he would act. The celebration lasted for almost an hour. Teho sat through all of it, his pale face showing nothing. His hands folded quietly in his lap. He watched as General Keseth described in detail how his warships would burn human cities. He listened as the tree creature spoke of reclaiming planets that humans had stolen. He observed as even Ulgor, who had hesitated during the vote, slowly joined in the excitement. Only High Seer Oranis remained quiet, that golden light pulsing softly inside its crystal shell. Sometimes Teho felt the pressure of its attention, like fingers brushing against his mind. Each time, he made himself smaller, emptier, until the feeling passed. When the room finally grew calm again, Vraxis called for order with 3 sharp clicks of his mandibles. Now, the ambassador said, we must discuss the details. A plan of this size requires careful timing, Every fleet must be in position. Every weapon must be ready. One mistake, and the humans will escape. They always escape, Kesseth growled. That is what makes them dangerous. Tell us, General, said a voice like grinding metal. It came from the being made of living iron, a creature called the Forged. You have fought the humans before. What should we expect? Kesseth's scales shifted to a darker shade of green. Anger, Teho knew. Or perhaps shame. I commanded 3 warships against a human mining colony. The general said slowly. The colony had no military vessels. Only mining ships and cargo haulers. I expected to crush them in hours. And, Vraxis prompted, the battle lasted 11 days. Kesseth's claws dug into the table, leaving marks in the black stone. They used their mining lasers as weapons. They turned their cargo ships into bombs. They hid in asteroid fields and attacked from the shadows. By the time I destroyed their colony, I had lost 2 warships and half my crew. The room fell silent. Miners, Kesseth said, his voice bitter. Farmers and engineers and children. They killed 1,000 of my soldiers without a single military ship. That is what humans do. They refuse to die the way they should. Ulgor's sphere bubbled thoughtfully. Perhaps this is why we should not rush to war. If even civilians can cause such damage, what can their military do? Their military is still young, Vraxis said quickly. Still small. That is why we must act now, before they grow stronger. In another century, it will be too late. I agree with the ambassador, said High Seer Oranis. The golden light flared brighter as the being spoke, filling the room with warmth that felt wrong, somehow, false. I have looked into the streams of time. I have seen many futures. In all of them, humanity rises. In all of them, the old powers fall. All futures? The tree creature asked. Is there no path where they remain contained? One, Oranis admitted. Only one. A future where humanity ends before it truly begins. That is what we plan today. That is the only hope for our peoples. Teho's fingers pressed together beneath the table. His training kept him still, but his mind was racing. A psychic had seen humanity's future, had seen them become powerful enough to threaten ancient empires, and instead of choosing peace, these aliens had chosen murder. It made a terrible kind of sense. Very well, Vraxis said. Let us begin the planning. First, we need to know their weaknesses. General Kesseth, you have studied human biology? The reptile nodded slowly. They are fragile. Soft skin, weak bones, poor senses. They cannot see in the dark like Draconar can. They cannot smell danger like the Chirex. They cannot survive in vacuum or extreme temperatures. Then why are they so hard to kill? The Forged asked. Kesseth was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was lower, almost respectful. Because they do not stop, he said. Break their bones, and they will fight with their teeth. Blind them, and they will fight by sound. Take away their weapons, and they will use rocks, or their bare hands, or anything they can reach. I watched a human soldier, bleeding from a dozen wounds, drag himself across the ground to activate a distress beacon. He died with his hand on the switch. His people came for him anyway. Sentiment, Vraxis said dismissively. They come for their dead because they are emotional, weak. No. Kesseth shook his great head. They come because they know others will come for them. Every human soldier fights harder because they know they will not be abandoned. It makes them fearless in ways that my soldiers cannot match. Another silence fell over the table. Teho could see uncertainty in the alien faces around him. Fear, even. These were beings who had conquered star systems, who had ruled for thousands of years, and they were afraid of a species that had barely left its own planet. It would have been funny if it wasn't so terrible. This is why we cannot face them in open war, Vraxis said. One battle at a time. They will wear us down. We must strike everywhere at once. Give them no time to adapt. No time to regroup. No time to become the monsters they can be. He brought up the hologram again. The map of human space with all its marked worlds. 47 planets, Vraxis said. We have representatives from 12 species here. If each of us contributes 4 fleets, we will have more than enough firepower to destroy every human settlement simultaneously. And the humans on board space stations? The Forged asked. On ships between worlds? We hunt them down afterward, Kesseth said. And there was hunger in his voice now. No survivors. No refugees. We must be thorough. Teho's stomach turned. These creatures were planning the complete extinction of his species. Every man, woman, and child. Every artist, every healer, every dreamer. All of it, gone. Because they were afraid of what humans might become, and he was the only one who could stop them. But how? He was one person. Alone on a station full of enemies. His partner, Parkhana, was somewhere in the maintenance sections, disguised as a drone operator. She had no weapons, no combat training. She was an intelligence analyst, not a soldier. If Teho acted now, he would die, and the information he carried would die with him. So he sat still. He listened. He memorized every detail of their terrible plan. The discussion continued for hours. Fleet positions were debated. Target priorities were argued. Vraxis wanted to strike Earth first, to cut off the head of the beast. Kesseth wanted to destroy the military bases on the outer colonies. Before turning to the homeworld, the tree creature suggested attacking the food production planets, starving humanity before finishing them off. Each option was more horrible than the last. Through it all, Ulgor remained quiet, its gel body swirling with colors that Teho could not read. When Vraxis finally called for a short break, the Morvathi approached Teho's corner of the room. You have not spoken. Pallid, Ulgor bubbled. Your people rarely do, I know. But surely you have some thoughts on this matter? Teho kept his voice soft, the way Pallids always spoke. I observe, he said. I listen. That is our way. And what have you observed? Teho considered his words carefully. I have observed that everyone here fears the humans. Even General Kesseth, who claims to hate them. Fear is a powerful motivation, but it is also a dangerous one. Ulgor's sphere pulsed with blue light. You think we are making a mistake? I think that fear makes us see enemies everywhere, even where they might not exist. For a long moment, Ulgor said nothing. Then the gel shifted, forming something that might have been a smile. You are wise, Pallid. Wiser than the others. The sphere floated closer. I voted for this plan because I had no choice. The others would have called me a traitor if I refused, but I do not like it. Killing an entire species because of what they might do? It feels wrong. Teho felt a spark of hope. An ally? Here? In this room full of death? Perhaps there is another way, he said carefully. A way that does not require blood. Before Ulgor could respond, Vraxis called the meeting back to order. The Morvathi drifted away, but Teho could see thoughts swirling through that translucent body. One ally was not enough. But it was a start. The meeting resumed. More plans, more arguments, more descriptions of human worlds burning, and Teho sat in his corner, watching and waiting, knowing that everything would change before this day was done. He just had to choose the right moment. The meeting had been going on for 6 hours. 6 hours of planning the death of billions. Teho's body ached from sitting so still. His mind ached from holding back his anger. But he did not move. He did not speak. He was a ghost in the corner. Just as the Pallids had always been. Then Vraxis made a mistake. The ambassador was explaining the final phase of the plan. The part where hunting ships would track down the last survivors of humanity. He spoke of it casually, like a farmer discussing pest control, and then he said something that changed everything. Of course, the humans will never see it coming, Vraxis clicked. They are too arrogant, too foolish. They believe everyone in the galaxy loves them, just because they smile and shake hands and pretend to be friendly. They have no idea that we have been watching them since the day they left their planet. Watching them? the Forged asked. Every species here has spies among the humans, Vraxis said. Agents who walk their streets, study their technology, learn their secrets. The humans are so trusting, so open, that they never suspect a thing. They welcome strangers into their homes. They share their knowledge freely. They are like children who do not know that the world is full of predators. Keseth laughed, a deep rumbling sound. And they call themselves intelligent. Teho felt something break inside him. Not his control, not his training. Something deeper than that. Something that had been wound tight for 18 months of lies and silence, and pretending to be something he was not. These creatures thought humans were stupid. They thought humans could not see the danger around them. They thought they were clever, hiding their spies and their plans and their hatred. They had no idea that a human was sitting right in front of them. Teho raised his hand. The room fell silent. Every alien eye turned toward the pale figure in the corner. Pallets never spoke in meetings. They never drew attention to themselves. For one to ask permission to address the assembly was almost unheard of. Vraxis's mandibles clicked with surprise. The Pallid wishes to speak? This is unusual. But you have been a quiet guest. We will hear you. Teho stood slowly. His gray robes rustled as he moved toward the center of the room. Every step felt like a mile. Every heartbeat felt like a drum. He stopped beside the holographic map of human space. The blue light painted his pale face, making him look even more ghost-like. Ambassador, Teho said, keeping his voice soft and thin. You speak of human arrogance. Of their failure to see danger. Of how easily they are fooled. I do, Vraxis agreed. It is one of their greatest weaknesses. And everyone here agrees? Everyone believes that humans cannot recognize their enemies? Heads nodded around the table. Tentacles waved. The golden light of Uranus pulsed in what might have been agreement. Interesting, Teho said. Then I have a question for all of you. A simple question. If you will allow me. Vraxis gestured with one clawed hand. Ask. Teho looked around the table, meeting each alien gaze in turn. The cold eyes of Keseth, the swirling form of Ulgor, the ancient light of Uranus, the metal face of the Forged. One by one, he looked at them all. Has any being in this room, he asked, ever actually met a human? The question hung in the air. Confusion passed across the alien faces. Met one? Keseth growled. I have killed them. That is enough. I have dissected their bodies, Vraxis said. I know how they are built. I have seen their souls in the time stream, Uranus added. I know their futures. Teho nodded slowly. You have killed them. Studied them. Watched them from afar. But has anyone here sat down with a human? Shared a meal with them? Talked to them about their hopes and fears? Learned their names and their stories? Silence. I thought not, Teho said. You speak of humans like they are animals. Things to be feared and destroyed. But you do not know them. None of you know them. We know enough, Vraxis said. And there was anger in his clicking voice now. We know they are a threat. That is all that matters. Is it? Teho stepped closer to the table. You have spent hours planning the death of billions of people. Mothers, fathers, children, old people who have never hurt anyone, young people who have never had a chance to live, and you speak of them like they are insects to be crushed. Keseth rose from his seat, scales darkening to black. What game are you playing, Pallid? Why do you defend the humans? I am not playing a game, General. Teho's voice changed. It grew stronger, deeper, less like a whisper, and more like a voice, a human voice. And I am not defending the humans. He reached up with both hands and gripped the edges of his face. I am one of them. And he pulled off the mask. The biosynthetic covering came away like a second skin, revealing the face beneath. Round ears instead of pointed ones. Soft cheekbones instead of sharp. Dark Korean eyes instead of the pale orbs of a pallid. A human face, with a human expression, looking out at a room full of aliens who wanted him dead. For a moment, no one moved. The shock was too great. The impossible had become possible, and their minds could not process it. Then Keseth roared. The reptile launched himself across the table, claws extended, jaws wide open. He was fast, faster than anything that size had a right to be. In the time it took to blink, he was already in the air, already reaching for Teho's throat. But Teho was faster. He had trained for this moment for years. Every morning, every night, he had practiced moving in ways that no pallid could move. He had learned to fight in cramped spaces, against larger opponents, with no weapons and no backup. The intelligence service had made him into a weapon. Now he used that training. He stepped to the side, letting Keseth's claws pass within inches of his face. Then he brought his elbow down hard on the back of the general's neck, right where the scales were thinnest. Keseth crashed into the table and did not get up. The room exploded into chaos. Vraxis screamed for guards. The tree creature tried to grab Teho with its branches. The forged raised a metal arm that began to glow with heat. Ulgor's sphere spun wildly, bubbles rising in panic. Teho moved through them like water through rocks. He ducked under the branches, rolled past the forged strike, and came up behind Vraxis. Before the ambassador could move, Teho had one arm around his throat and the other pressing against a soft spot between his shell plates. "Everyone stop," Teho said. His voice was calm, almost friendly. "Or your ambassador dies." The room went still. "You cannot escape." Vraxis clicked weakly. "There are guards everywhere. Ships outside. You are one human against an entire station." "Am I?" Teho smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Are you sure about that?" High above them, in the control room of Valorian Station, a young woman with short black hair and clever eyes watched the chaos on her screens. Park Hana had been monitoring the meeting for hours, waiting for her partner's signal. Now she saw him standing in the middle of the room, surrounded by enemies, and she began to work. Her fingers flew across the console. Security systems went dark. Doors locked themselves. Communication arrays went silent. One by one, she shut down everything that could hurt Teho or call for help. The guards outside the chamber tried to enter. The doors did not open. They tried to contact their commanders. No signal went through. They were blind and helpless, and they did not know why. Back in the meeting room, Teho felt his earpiece buzz. 2 short pulses. Hana's signal that everything was ready. "Here is what is going to happen," Teho said, still holding Vraxis. "You are all going to sit down and listen. I have some things to tell you about humans. Real things, not the stories you have been telling yourselves. And when I am done, you are going to make a choice." "What choice?" Ulgor bubbled. Teho looked at the hologram still floating above the table. "Earth and all its colonies, marked for death. Whether to keep planning murder," he said, "or whether to try something else." "Something else?" Vraxis managed to choke out. "What else is there?" Teho's smile faded. His eyes grew serious. For a moment, he was not a spy or a soldier or a weapon. He was just a man, standing alone against impossible odds, trying to save everyone he loved. "Peace," he said. "You could try peace." The word hung in the air like a strange creature that no one recognized. Peace. In this room, among these beings who had spent hours dreaming of extinction, the word sounded foreign, impossible, almost funny. Keseth groaned from where he lay on the table. He was not dead, just stunned. His yellow eyes opened slowly, filled with rage and confusion. He tried to rise, but his body would not obey him. "Stay down, General," Teho said. "I hit a nerve cluster. You will be able to move again in about 20 minutes. Until then, I suggest you listen." "Listen?" The forge stepped forward, its metal body humming with energy. "You are in no position to give orders, human. Release the ambassador, or I will burn you where you stand." "You could try," Teho agreed. "But I should warn you about something first." "Do you feel that?" The forged paused. Its sensors swept the room, detecting something strange in the air. A faint vibration. A chemical trace that had not been there before. There is a gas in this room, Taeho continued. Harmless to most species. But forged are different, aren't they? Your living metal is held together by organic bonds. This gas will dissolve those bonds in about 30 seconds if you do not back away. The forged retreated immediately. Taeho had never seen a being made of metal look afraid before. How did you know? Vraxis demanded. I have been among you for 18 months, Ambassador. I have learned a great deal. Taeho finally released Vraxis, pushing the insectoid away from him. But I did not come here to fight. I came here to talk. Talk? The tree creature rustled with anger. You attacked General Keseth. You threatened us all. The general attacked me first. I defended myself. Taeho straightened his torn, pallid robes, which looked strange hanging from his very human body. I would prefer not to hurt anyone else, but I will if I have to. From her control room, Hana watched her partner standing alone against a room full of monsters. Her heart beat fast, but her hands were steady. She had already disabled the station's weapons. Now she was working on something else. Taeho, she said through their private channel. The signal beacon is ready. Should I activate it? Not yet, he murmured back. Give me time to try something first. In the meeting room, Taeho walked slowly around the table. The aliens watched him like prey watching a predator. Which was strange because he was smaller and weaker than all of them, but there was something in the way he moved. Something dangerous. You have all made a terrible mistake, Taeho said. Not the plan to destroy humanity. That was expected. Every young species faces this moment. When the older powers decide whether to let them live or die. Then what mistake? Ulgor bubbled. You assumed that we did not know. Taeho stopped in front of the hologram, his human face painted blue by its light. You thought your spies were hidden. You thought your meetings were secret. You thought you could plan the death of billions without anyone noticing. He turned to face them all. We have known about this plan for 6 months. The room erupted in noise. Angry clicks. Frightened bubbles. The grinding of metal. But Taeho raised his voice above them all. We knew, and we did nothing. Do you understand what that means? We could have attacked first. We could have struck your homeworlds while your fleets gathered here. We could have killed billions of your people, just as you planned to kill ours. Why didn't you? High Seer Oranus asked. The golden light pulsed with genuine curiosity. Because that is not who we are. Taeho's voice softened. You have studied humans, all of you. You have counted our ships, and measured our weapons, and analyzed our tactics, but you have missed the most important thing about us. And what is that? Vraxis clicked. We survive by making friends, not enemies. Keseth laughed bitterly from the table. Friends? You think we will be your friends after this? I think you could be. If you wanted to. Taeho walked over to the fallen general and knelt beside him. This was a risk. Keseth's claws could still tear him apart if the reptile moved fast enough. But Taeho had learned something important about Draconar culture in his months undercover. You told a story earlier, Taeho said quietly, about the human soldier who died reaching a distress beacon. You said his people came for him anyway. Keseth's eyes narrowed. I remember. That story bothered you. I could see it in your scales. You respect that soldier, don't you? Even though he was your enemy. For a long moment, Keseth said nothing. Then, slowly, he nodded. He fought well. Better than many of my own warriors. He deserved an honorable death. And if he had lived? If he had been captured instead of killed? What would you have done with him? Keseth's scales shifted color again. And this time Taeho recognized the pattern. Shame. I would have executed him, the general admitted. My commanders ordered no survivors. But that is not what you wanted, is it? Taeho leaned closer. You wanted to know him, to understand how such a weak creature could be so brave, to learn from him maybe, to see if Draconar and humans could find common ground. It does not matter what I wanted, Keseth growled. Orders are orders. But what if there were no orders? Tejo stood up. What if, instead of planning our extinction, you were planning something else? Trade agreements, cultural exchanges, joint missions to explore the unknown parts of the galaxy. Impossible, Vraxis clicked. The Council would never allow it. The Council is afraid of us, just like you are. Tejo smiled again, but this time it was gentle. But fear can be overcome. We have proven that 1,000 times. Humans are afraid of everything at first. The dark, the deep water, the empty space between stars. But we learn to understand what we fear, and then we stop being afraid. The station shook suddenly, a deep vibration that ran through the walls and floor. The aliens looked around in panic. Olgor's sphere bounced against the table. The tree creature's branches trembled. What was that? Vraxis demanded. Hana's voice came through Tejo's earpiece. A ship just decloaked outside the station. It's the horizon. Tejo felt his heart lift. Captain Yoon had arrived, right on schedule. That, he said to the frightened aliens, is your proof that humans can be trusted. He walked to the window that dominated one wall of the chamber. Outside, against the red light of the dying star, a ship had appeared. It was elegant and sleek, with smooth lines and soft curves. Not a warship, a diplomatic vessel. We have known about this meeting for 6 months, Tejo said. We could have sent a fleet. We could have destroyed this station and everyone on it. Instead, we sent one ship, a ship with no weapons. The aliens crowded around the window, staring at the human vessel. It floated peacefully in the void, making no aggressive moves, showing no sign of hostility. The horizon carries no missiles, Tejo continued. No energy weapons, no fighters. Its only defense is a shield, designed to survive asteroid impacts. If you wanted to destroy it, you could do so in minutes. Then why send it? Uranus asked. Because we wanted you to see what humans do when we are afraid. Tejo turned to face them, his back to the stars. We do not hide. We do not attack first. We walk into danger with open hands and open hearts, hoping that our enemies will see us and choose not to be enemies anymore. General Kesseth had finally regained control of his body. He pushed himself up from the table and stood on shaking legs. His yellow eyes moved from Tejo to the ship outside and back again. You are either very brave, the general said slowly, or very foolish. Probably both, Tejo admitted. Humans usually are. For the first time, Kesseth laughed. Not a mocking laugh or an angry one. A real laugh, filled with something that might have been respect. I begin to understand why you are so hard to kill, he said. You do not fight the way we expect. You do not think the way we predict. You are chaos, wrapped in soft skin. Thank you, General, I think. Hana's voice came again. Tejo, Captain Yoon is requesting permission to board. He wants to address the assembly. Tejo looked at Vraxis. The ambassador's mandibles were still. His compound eyes reflected the light of the human ship outside. Well, Ambassador, Tejo asked, will you hear what the captain has to say? Or would you prefer to continue planning murder? Vraxis was silent for a long time. Then, slowly, his mandibles began to click. Let him come, the ambassador said. I want to hear what madness the humans propose next. Tejo nodded and touched his ear. Send him in, Hana. On the way, she replied. And Tejo? You did good. He smiled, just a little. We are not done yet. The doors of the chamber opened, and Captain Yoon Suk walked in. He was not what the aliens expected. Most of them had imagined human military commanders as fierce warriors, covered in weapons and armor, ready to kill at a moment's notice. Yoon was none of those things. He was a small man, shorter than Tejo by several inches. His hair was gray at the temples, and lines creased the corners of his eyes. Where his left arm should have been, there was a simple prosthetic, not a weapon but just a functional replacement. He wore the dress uniform of the Seoul Republic Navy, clean and pressed, with medals on his chest that showed years of service. But it was his eyes that caught attention. They were kind. Even surrounded by beings who wanted to destroy his species, Captain Yoon looked at them with kindness. "Thank you for receiving me," he said, bowing slightly. "I know this is unusual. I know you have many questions. I hope you will give me the chance to answer them." Vraxis stepped forward, his mandibles clicking with suspicion. "You come here alone? No guards? No weapons?" "I have my crew on the horizon," Yoon said. "They are prepared to die if necessary. But I do not believe it will be necessary. Not if we can find another way." "Another way?" The tree creature rustled. "We have already voted. The decision is made. Decisions can be unmade." Yoon walked slowly to the center of the room, moving carefully past the aliens who towered over him. "I have learned that in 50 years of life, nothing is final until it is done. And sometimes, not even then." He stopped beside Teho and placed a hand on the younger man's shoulder. A simple gesture. A human gesture. The aliens watched it with confusion. "Lieutenant Kang has told you what we knew," Yoon continued. "He has told you that we could have attacked first. That we chose not to. But he has not told you why." "Then tell us," Orinus said. The golden light pulsed with interest. "Why did you not strike when you had the chance?" "Why?" Yoon was quiet for a moment, gathering his thoughts. Then he raised his prosthetic arm, showing it to the room. "I lost this arm fighting pirates," he said. "Slavers who attacked human colonies to steal children and sell them on the black market. I was angry for a long time after that. I wanted revenge. I wanted to kill every slaver in the galaxy." "A reasonable desire," Keseth said. "Perhaps. But revenge is a fire that never goes out. If I had spent my life hunting slavers, I would have become like them. Violent. Obsessed. Unable to see anything but enemies and targets." He lowered his arm. "Instead, I chose to protect. To build. To carry diplomats and scientists and dreamers to places where they could make the galaxy better. I have not fired a weapon in 15 years, and I have saved more lives in that time than I ever could have by fighting." "Pretty words," Vraxis clicked. "But words do not stop our fleets." "No," Yoon agreed. "Only you can do that. I cannot force you to choose peace. No one can force anyone to choose peace. That is why it is so difficult. And that is why it matters so much when it happens." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small data chip. The aliens tensed. But the chip was harmless. Just a piece of plastic and metal. Smaller than a fingernail. "This is a formal request for diplomatic talks," Yoon said. "Written by Earth's Secretary General herself. It offers trade agreements, technology sharing, cultural exchanges. It promises that humanity will respect the territories and traditions of every species in this room. All it asks in return is a chance. A chance to prove that we can be good neighbors." He placed the chip on the table. "I will not lie to you. Humanity has done terrible things. We have fought wars among ourselves. We have destroyed our own planet's environment and almost wiped out our own species. We are young and foolish, and we make many mistakes. Then why should we trust you?" Ulgor bubbled. Yoon smiled, and there was sadness in it. "Wisdom earned through pain. Because we have learned," he said. "Every mistake has taught us something. Every war has made us more determined to find peace. Every tragedy has reminded us how precious life is. We are not perfect, and we will never be perfect. But we are trying. Every day, in every way we can, we are trying to be better." The room was silent. The aliens looked at each other, at the data chip on the table, at the human captain standing calmly before them. Then Keseth spoke. "I have killed many humans," the general said slowly. "I have burned their cities and destroyed their ships and watched them die. And in all that time, I never once stopped to ask why they fought so hard. Why? They refused to surrender, even when they had no chance of victory." He stepped forward, his yellow eyes fixed on Yoon. "Now I think I understand. You fight because you believe in something. Not in conquest or power or survival, but in the idea that tomorrow can be better than today. That is why you are dangerous. Not because of your weapons or your numbers, but because of your hope. Hope is a powerful thing, Yoon agreed. It is. Keseth reached out with one clawed hand and picked up the data chip. He turned it over, studying it. I have lived for 300 years. I have conquered 100 worlds. And I have never felt hope. My people do not know the word. We fight because that is what we do. We kill because that is what we are. He looked at the captain. I am tired of what I am. I would like to know what I could become. He turned to Vraxis. I withdraw my support for the extermination plan. Let the humans speak to the council. Let us hear what they have to offer. Vraxis's mandibles clicked in shock. General, you cannot be serious. I have never been more serious. Keseth's scales shifted to a color that Taeho had never seen before. Hope, perhaps, or something like it. For 300 years, I have followed orders. Today, I make my own choice. One by one, the other aliens spoke. Ulgor withdrew next, its gel body swirling with relief. The Forged, after a long silence, agreed to consider the human offer. Even the tree creature, though reluctantly, admitted that extinction might not be the only answer. Only Vraxis and Uranus remained opposed. You are all fools, Vraxis said. The humans will betray you. They will grow strong and turn on you just as they turned on each other. Perhaps, Captain Yoon said. Or perhaps they will surprise you. Humans are very good at surprising people. He stepped closer to Vraxis, showing no fear of the towering insectoid. You have a choice, Ambassador. You can hold on to your hatred and your fear. You can spend the rest of your life fighting a war that you may not win. Or you can take a risk. Reach out your hand. See what happens when you stop treating us like enemies. And if I refuse? Yoon shrugged. Then we will leave. We will not attack you. We will not seek revenge. We will simply go home and prepare for whatever comes next. The choice is yours. For a long moment, Vraxis said nothing. His compound eyes reflected the light of Earth's hologram, that small blue planet marked for death. Then, slowly, his mandibles opened. And he spoke a word that Taeho had never expected to hear. Very well. He reached out with one clawed hand and took the data chip from Keseth. I will bring this to the council. I will argue for diplomatic talks. But I make no promises. My people have long memories and deep fears. Changing their minds will not be easy. I will not be easy. It never is, Yoon said. But it is always worth trying. An hour later, Taeho stood on the observation deck of the horizon, watching Valorian Station grow smaller in the distance. Beside him, Hana leaned against the railing, looking tired, but happy. Do you think it will work? She asked. Do you think they will really give us a chance? Taeho thought about the room full of aliens, about Keseth's scales changing color, about Ulgor's relief, about Vraxis taking the data chip in his claws. I think they want to believe, he said finally. And sometimes, that is enough. Captain Yoon joined them, his prosthetic hand resting on the railing. You did well, both of you. You changed the course of history today. We just started a conversation, Taeho said. The hard work is still ahead. The hard work is always ahead. Yoon smiled at the stars. That is what makes life interesting. 6 months later, the first Human-Alien Peace Summit was held on neutral ground. Ulgor was the first to formally apologize for the extermination vote. Keseth sent a private message to Taeho, inviting him to visit Drakenar space as an honored guest. And High Seer Uranus, after much meditation, revised the prophecy. Humanity would not dominate the galaxy, the seer announced. They would unite it. And somewhere on New Busan, Taeho's mother received a medal on her son's behalf. She did not fully understand what he had done to earn it. But she was proud anyway. That was enough.